I'm just going to give a little background about myself. My name is Jeanine McLellan, and I'm a physical therapist. And my husband and my husband's a physical therapy assistant, and we started Northern Physical Therapy back in 1996. And we like to say we've probably made every mistake you can possibly make in business because in PT school, they don't actually give you any information on how to run a business. So, so we've gradually expanded over the years, and now we have three clinics up in northern New York. As previously stated, I'm about 2.5 hours north of Syracuse, right on the Canadian border. And so we have clinics in Ogdensburg, which is where we're from. We have Clayton, New York, and we have right outside of Fort Drum, which is a military installation up here in Watertown, New York. So we started back with HODS back in 2014 as one of the original partners, and we like to say that we were the guinea pigs for the model that they currently now follow. So again, we were, it was try and die, I guess, is what it was back then. But we've had a lot of fun. And I'm so appreciative for the opportunities that we've gotten through HODS and the relationships we've formed. We're great friends with Demi and Costas and Craig, and just the networking that it's afforded us through the physical therapy world and beyond. So we're very grateful for that. And you know, we consider ourselves to be very fortunate to be able to use each other as resources. If I had had this 25 years ago when I first started, I could have avoided a lot of those mistakes. So I'm certainly one of those people. I feel very free to share information. I think it's all about strength in numbers. So I'm pleased at any time. Feel free to, reach out and ask whatever you need. So we are in a very unique situation, maybe more. I mean, I know a few other samples of this where our oldest daughter also is a physical therapist. She decided to follow in our footsteps because she started out in a different area of medicine and quickly realized that not all settings were as upbeat as the physical therapy setting was. And she came home one day and she said, I just no longer want to do this because I can't see myself doing that. But she says, your office just seems so happy and upbeat all the time. And that's what I want to do. I want to help people, but in an atmosphere that makes everybody feel good. So she went to school and she's been working with us now. She actually runs one of our facilities for the last 3 years. So she's done a great job. And today's her birthday. So I have to give her a shout out. But anyways, so the topic I'm going to talk on today is called organizing the organization. And I talk about that because it's through different trainings that we've gone to, we've gotten all this great information about, like how to put together an org board and this and that and the other thing. And like I was saying to James earlier, we came back and we were so pumped. We had this information. We thought like, wow, this is like a gold mine. And then we came back and our staff were like, wait, what are you talking about? And there was like that gap, between like, okay, how do we get it to go from us to now getting it to be universal across the organization and something that people, recognize is needed and that it's going to help them. So anyways, what we decided to do right from the get-go was start at the basic, right, with the org board, right? And at the time we were like, well, there's only 3 employees. How can we have this big org board? It doesn't really work. I was doing an awful lot of those hats. But anyways, I guess just to kind of get a feel from other people who are here, how many people here actually have an org board? I mean, are we dealing with, I think Graham, like you went through similar trainings that I did, but do you have an org board that you reference?
We have a small org board, and we really don't reference it the way that it should be used.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. So just good information. And so what we did is we put together a mid-level, very simplified version of the 7 org boards just to have on there specific what is every division's valuable final product and what is their GDS, which is their gross divisional statistics, so that when we were orienting new staff, they could then take a look at it and then go down straight through and see exactly what every post, where people were on it, who was responsible for what. Then we further expanded it, like you can see it behind me here. Like we have the full org board, which has every single job duty under every single division, department, so that again, the goal being that we don't want people creating all this developed traffic and going to 5 different people who have nothing to do with that task and then taking them off of their job. And now everybody's all of a sudden worried about, how do we order paper clips? You know, like it's just not necessary. So trying to keep people very streamlined to stay on task of what they're supposed to do versus what someone else is supposed to do. So it's key, like as people come in, do they know what department they're in? Do they know what division that's part of? You know, and how things streamline from there. And then, you know, we want to reference our overall valuable final product for the whole organization. We want every staff person to know that, because if they don't know what the goal is, then how are they going to work towards helping you to get there? So we always say, you know, sing it loud and sing it proud, put it right out there for everybody, and reference it often, you know, that make it an actual working part of your business. We didn't do that for a long time. We had it, we got it so beautiful and it hung on the wall and oh, we were so proud of it. And then we didn't look at it for 3 years. And then still nobody really followed anything. And we just couldn't understand, well, geez, it's right there. Why aren't they following it? But if we weren't looking at it and really promoting it, then the staff certainly weren't going to look at it and promote it. so these are the lessons we've learned across the board. So now there's a Megan A on here. Megan, how are you today?
I'm well. How are you?
All right, good. Now just tell me a little bit about yourself as far as, do you have an org board?
I am actually new to hands-on. But at my previous company, we did, yes, have an org board that we operated with.
Okay, nice. Okay. And so do you plan to have, like, to get a new org board going up here, or?
Yes.
All right, nice.
I think it's in the works as far as I know. There.
Okay. So so this is our actual full org board, and it starts like start way over on right on the end there. And this would be a little bit overwhelming, I think, to a new staff person coming in. So we reduced this, right? So if you go down into go right down into division 7. So it starts executive division, but as you can see, it's every single department broken into the divisions of every single thing that needs to be taken care of within the organization. So when you get down towards the bottom, you can see each department has its own valuable final product and its own GDS, which is the stat that you use to measure that. Then each division, those 3 departments work together to give you the valuable final product and then the GDS for that division. So even if you're wearing all 3 hats of that department, you know, you can know what the goal is ultimately for your division. And then each one just moves along and follows the same thing. So you have your communication, and you're getting into, you've got your qualifications, you know, your PT, but then we're right down at the bottom, the overall, the company's valuable final product. This is our mission. Is extremely well satisfied physicians and patients who are treated to a maximum level and will gladly refer patients and friends to you for care. So, and again, like, we don't give this out to the newcomers. It's a little bit overkill for them. You know, it's a gradient. We all have to train on a gradient. So they get a much more simplified version of this. But we have found that to be very effective in helping people to understand what we're trying to work for. So one of our very, very successful actions that we've done is that probably about 5 or 6 years ago, we just did a major overhaul of our entire orientation process, because we found, again, there was this disconnect between the people that had been there for a while that seemed to get it versus the new people coming in. It's like, how do we get them to that point? So what we sat down and did at that time is sat down with every single staff person and went over, okay, what is your post and what do you do? And we wrote out every single thing that they could possibly do. And then, so we have 3 front desk staff, 3 offices. We had them come together. Okay, what are the differences? What are the similarities? So we came up with one solid job description for that post that included everything that you could possibly have to do and how you were going to do it. And I mean, very, very detailed. And that way, each staff person felt very invested in their job title. Like they knew that, okay, this is what's expected of me, and this is what they want me to do, and this is what I need to do. So doing that really helped us to bring our offices together, because I don't know if any of you have multiple offices, but we want everything to run the same. It's a system, and we want everything to run the same. But by doing that, because they don't get to see each other on a daily basis, sometimes you get a little disconnect between offices. Well, this way, they all work together, they developed it, so they all had a vested interest in it. By doing that, we then took it another step further, that we made sure every person sat down and what we call hatting the staff, right? So, because knowledge is power. So have you ever heard of the KRC triangle? KRC is knowledge, responsibility, and control. Those are the 3 tips of the triangle. So knowledge by definition is facts and information and skills acquired by a person through experience or education. And it's the theoretical or practical understanding of a subject. You know, we want our staff to have knowledge. They're our teammates, they're our team members. We're all trying to work to the same goal. Responsibility is the state or fact of being accountable or to blame for something. We're certainly not looking to lay blame, but we want people to take ownership and be accountable for that duty. Control is determining the behavior or supervising the running of something. So the more knowledge that somebody has and the more responsibility they feel for it, they're going to be in control of how it runs. So, and what we find is important is not just giving all of this to the person at the, when they're there, but routinely going through this with them and updating it, because things change. Look at how this pandemic has affected us. Like we have a whole new operating basis that, with now the advent of telehealth being so popular, like we've got new things we've got to, consider. So we do reviews like every 90 days, we do annual reviews, and it's a great time to sit down and update, like what is working, what's not working. Like the things that we have set in place aren't set in stone. It's constantly a work in progress per se. So, so the next thing we did is we wanted everybody to know the rules of the game, right? So employee handbook, we used to have like the basic policy manual, right? And so everybody like looked at it. It was in the office, but it had all of the HR stuff and the basic policies. Well, what we found is we wanted people to have like an employee handbook that they could reference, take home with them, read it at their leisure, and these were the rules. It was the same for everybody. There were no favorites. There were no like, well, hey, because she's your daughter, she gets, no, it runs the same for every post. So that is the name of the game. And it encourages trust and transparency throughout the organization so that everybody, it's our responsibility to make sure that everybody knows that they're running on the same playing field. So then the next thing we did, and this was a process. This probably took us a good 3 months, from start to finish, org board, job descriptions, employee handbook, but we set very doable goals. Okay, this week, this is what you need to have accomplished. And that was the key, is having an end date of when things needed to be in by, right? Because we didn't want this to be something that we talked about but never finished. So then we went into policy manual. So as part of our organizational training, that we developed very detailed policy manuals that outlined the template of how to do your job. So we have a basic policy manual. We also then there's a physical therapy policy manual, a front desk policy manual, a billing and collections policy manual. Every single job has, and that manual includes the step-by-step. Okay, on our EMR system, how do you log on to it? How do you do an initial evaluation? How do you write a daily note? And literally screenshots of everything. And the goal is that somebody who has no prior training can sit down and do that job. Like, do they do it fluidly? Well, not to start. Like, I can actually take that billing and collections manual and sit down and send out all the daily billing. Or I could sit down and I could post all the checks. It might take me a while, but I could do it. So, and that's the key. It's a great, we've never had anybody that we've hired that looks at this and says, oh no, I don't like this information you're giving to help me. They're all like, wow, this is great, and it's not that, you expect them to know it day one, but at least it's comforting for them to know there's a resource. Like, it's not that we're not going to train them, give someone to train them, but it's a resource. And even, it's constantly changing as insurance companies change their websites and whatnot, but it's not difficult to keep up on those changes. And once you get it in place, it's like, oh, Medicaid change, whatever login it is, like, so here's a new page for that. So it's pretty quick and simple. So we go through the appropriate manuals, like not every new hire has to read every single manual. It's what's pertinent to their job and what's important for them to do. And so we go over it with all new hires, but we also go over it with all existing teammates at the reviews. It's every year. We make sure that all the information is accurate because we don't want this to be outdated. It's a working template of what we do. And that's important for getting people control, for that knowledge and responsibility, the KRC triangle. So, and we make it very, very clear, anybody can make a recommendation to change a policy. Like, policy sounds so official, right? But anybody can make a recommendation for a change. So now, Megan, have you ever had the experience where either not having policies has hurt you or helped you, or I have some stories, I'm sure we all do.
Yes, I've kind of been in the experience of being in a company where we had to rewrite a lot of policies because there was a lot of outpoints and disorganization, and just through that experience, building those solid policies really improved, just flow and efficiency, and everybody just being able to, work together and get their work done with more understanding and organization in place.
Right. Yeah, most definitely. Like, we had a unique situation because, again, we always consider that, well, certainly everybody knows right from wrong and whatnot. So we had, years and years ago, we had a front desk receptionist who could be very, very abrupt with people, borderline rude. And, so I went through all of the protocols that New York State has set up, and the guidelines of the verbal warnings and the written warnings. And finally, after a major incident, we had to let her go. Well, I got a phone call because she was trying to file this wrongful dismissal against us. So I said, well, here's all my documentation, whatnot. And what they wanted to know was, where was it listed anywhere that she had to be nice to people? And I was like, so taken aback. I'm like, what? Like, she's the front desk receptionist. Like, you have to, well, where do you have it written down that your front desk receptionist has to be polite to people? Well, let me tell you, it's written down now. But, so what you think is like such a basic thing, if it's not written down, it really can come back to haunt you a little bit. So yeah, kind of, it was definitely eye-opening. We've had some interesting experiences with that. So anyways, now now we're over the top. And as a matter of fact, so in 2 of our facilities, we actually operate gym facilities as well. And so with the whole pandemic, the closing down of gyms and whatnot, so when we reopened the gyms, when New York State let us reopen, we had to all be inspected by the county health departments had to come in and do inspections. So we, of course, right true to our form, got right on task and had all of our fitness staff writing up protocols and cleaning and all this good stuff. And when they came in, we handed them these notebooks of, okay, this is how we're handling things. And they like, so in New York, we got ratings. And so we both of our facilities that have gyms got A+ ratings. And they wanted to have copies of our protocols that they could share with other people, because they said that other places, including like the national chains, they just didn't have any real concise policies in place for it, which is a little surprising, but I think it just took people by surprise and nobody really knew what the expectation was going to be. So that's where that organization comes in handy, because it really was nothing for us to put it together. We were so used to doing it for our other things as well. So Graham, we were talking about if you've ever had an experience where not having a policy in place has hurt you in business.
Yes.
Yes.
I have too many stories to tell.
I'm sure, I know, right? So yeah, well, I was sharing where we had a front desk receptionist who was not nice to people, and but because it wasn't in writing that she had to be, that was a bed on ours. And we had another we actually had another therapist that thought it was okay to like sleep at work. But now our policy states like you can't sleep here. So
Right.
yeah, it's a crazy world. So
It is.
yes. So I guess the key is we all have this information, and it's a matter of pulling it together and using it on a daily basis, and really reinforcing to your teammates and your team members that it's to their advantage to use it on a daily basis. And I'm not going to say it wasn't a lot of work, but by making them a part of it and responsible and giving them deadlines and knowing that we were all working together, our whole culture of our organization, the morale was just great, and everybody was like, hey, I've got some time, you want me to do a section for you? And even if it was like something unrelated to their job, everybody really worked together. It was a great feeling to have that done. So, and like I said, it took 3 months, but we could see the progression every week, and we shared our wins with each other. And so we've been running that way now for 4 years, and it's a great feeling to know that the new people are as invested in it as our long timers who've been here with us for a long time. So we're very encouraged by that. So, I mean, do you have any questions? Like, what is the hardest area that you guys find to either get organized or keep organized?
I'll say something, Jeanine. In my years in the industry, you're fully right that you need the policy and the foundation. I would call it establishment 101, fundamentals 101. You start a business, what are the rules? How's it going to go? And I had personally, I owned a frozen yogurt chain for a little bit years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was me and my brother on top, family business. And day one, it was, what are the rules? We don't have them. Let's make the rules. Right. So policies, rules, organizing board kind of stuff. And then what you realize when you get a little bit bigger is, who's going to keep those rules in? Mm-hmm. Oh, I don't have time to do that. Right. Well, you got to hire somebody or make time to do it. And I'm sure, in some of the cases here, it's your hands in everything. It's you making admin time every day, every week to go shake a hand, to go see if she's doing it right, go see if he's doing it right. If I made a career myself off of just being, what are you not getting done? I'll just do it because they have no time for it, which I understand. It's not like a mock of anybody. They have an owner doesn't have time to do everything in an organization. So I think in general, that's the problem, is that someone to keep it in, someone who knows the policies clearly and cleanly can look for new policies to recommend or invent and can keep them in, can enforce them. Like you said, you came in late.
Right.
You can't come in late. And that could, because you get that person on the first go, you might have handled all lateness. You get it on the 5th time, she's late or he's late, too late, you missed it. So I agree that as a general comment that has to be, and someone has to wear the hat of enforcing it. It's a bad word, enforce, but
Right.
holding it in place.
Right. Agreed. So, all right. So, I mean, do you have any other questions? Anybody that wants to hop in, or anything, other comments? For sure.
I was just going to say, I don't have any other questions other than I find the hardest posts to keep updated and up to whatever, up to snuff, is the reception. There is so many changes with insurance plans, with authorization requirements, with all of this stuff that is always there. And I find myself, that's the one that I rewrite most often. And it's just a frustrating thing. It's also a post that kind of turns over a little more rapidly than other posts. And you're always asking this front desk staff member to learn a lot about how it works. They're a very important position as it goes. And then the meter's always moving. Used to do it this way, and now you have to do it this way.
Right.
And if you don't do it that way, then the billing people get upset. And if the billing people get upset, then there's no finance issue. It goes on and on and on. So
right. And just I'll just tell you what we did to handle exactly that, because we found exactly the same situation. We ended up taking our strongest front desk receptionist and making her the front desk receptionist supervisor. And then we hired another 2-day-a-week part-time front desk receptionist. So that would free her up to then do the constant, the additional trainings. This is a change, updating things, and then doing the more or less again, you hate to use the word investigations, right? But to make sure everybody's on task with what they're supposed to, because that is such a key part. So she'll go back in through all the new patient charts and make sure all the insurance verification forms are in there. And if it's not, she's on the phone. Okay, look at this got missed or whatever. Let's get this fixed, because we don't want that to flow through into our finance lines either. So that's how we handled it, is just with that little part-time scenario coming in, because it just made sense for us to do it that way.
That's kind of what we've done as well. Even within that part-time position turns over so rapidly sometimes.
Yes. Yeah, we do give them an awful lot of responsibility, and some of them it's tough, because now they can go work at a fast food chain for almost as much money and a lot less responsibility. So yeah, so it's definitely, it's a challenge for sure. Yeah.
Sure. Yep. Yeah, one thing you might be doing too, Graham, my 2 cents, coordination meetings. I'm sure you have something like that, but if I saw a lot of changes coming, I would make sure, definitely billing and front desk managers, or even the staff. We keep it like almost an in-service, almost on admin stuff. And we would, every quarter, we would have a bigger one with almost like not quite a staff meeting, but the heads of divisions, call it whatever you want to call it. And we go over blanket policies. I'd let them originate new policy concepts. Oh yeah, good idea. What do we think here, guys? Great. So, I mean, again, maybe broadening or changing, that might help a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, we started, which we never used to do. I mean, staff meetings were something you did if there was a problem. Now we meet once a week, every single week, and are starting to put some of this down, like you said, writing down policy manuals, and it's been very, very helpful. I'm a smaller organization. We only have 3 therapists in 1 location, so. But it's been helpful putting it all together. It's just a challenge. That one particular post is a bear sometimes. So.
Yep. And it doesn't change no matter how many years you're in business. That's always going to be the key, and they're so important. They're the face of your business. When that patient calls or comes in the front door, they just, they're so key for sure.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I thank you for attending and coming, and I hope you got some
Thank you.
use out of it. And yeah, certainly, like I said, feel free to reach out at any time. I'm more than happy to share information and documents and whatever. So, but good luck to you.